Welcome to Admissions Live, your weekly webcast about the world of college admissions. We are a professional development show for admissions professionals all over the U.S. and abroad. We're part of the Higher Ed Live network, where we're dedicated to digital development and professional empowerment. We have Tim Nekritz and Alyssa Levenberg on tonight's show, both tuning in from SUNY Oswego, and we're talking about a new approach to student blog programs. I'm really excited to get to this show, but we can't get started without giving a shout out to sponsors that make Admissions Live possible. And I want to give my first shout out to Welcome to College, where they believe it's all in the visit and have created web and mobile applications to help institutions measure and manage their most critical recruitment tool, the college visit. Visit welcometocollege.com to learn more or tweet at welcometocollege about a demo. Admissions Live is sponsored by Zinch.com, the preferred destination by over 3 million students to research schools and scholarships and to showcase themselves as more than a test score. Over 1,000 colleges and universities around the world partner with Zinch to attract and enroll best fit students on the largest college search social network in the world. To learn more about Zinch, email outreach@zinch.com or tweet at socialadmission. Admissions Live is sponsored by Integral, the creators of the Schools app on Facebook. While 100% of colleges say they're using social media to engage prospective, admitted, and current students, only a third of enrollment managers are happy with the metrics and results. Learn about social enrollment management during Integral's upcoming webinar on December 5th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We just sent out a tweet with a link to that registration. And last, Admissions Live is sponsored by Scavenger, a Google-funded mobile game about going places, doing challenges, and earning points. Learn how your institution can get started with Scavenger, as well as read case studies and interviews with some of the 400 colleges and universities who have already used the service at scavengeru.com. And I'd like to welcome everyone who's tuning in over the live broadcast. If you are following along with us, we hope that you'll also hop on Twitter and use the Admissions Live hashtag. You can tweet at Higher Ed Live or at myself at Ashley Henn. And we'll be sharing Twitter handles of our guests in just a second while I bring them on. So without further ado, I want to welcome our guests, Tim and Alyssa, to the show. Again, tuning in from the SUNY Oswego campus. Hi, folks. How are you?
Oh, great.
Good. Well, welcome. And I want to give each of you just a second to be able to introduce yourself. Tim, you've been on Higher Ed Live before. Welcome to Admissions Live. You want to tell my viewers a little bit about yourself and your experience in higher ed?
Well, I'm a couple of things. The Associate Director of Public Affairs, Director of Web Communication at SUNY Oswego. I was just a writer once upon a time and a blogger on the side, and suddenly when social media became a thing, I just ended up falling into that void. And so I've been working in the social media end of it for about 5 or 6 years now. And we've had student blogs, I believe. We're in our 5th season of student blogs, and obviously I'll be talking a little bit later about how they've expanded. But it's been a great vehicle for us, and so hopefully, if anyone out there hasn't done blogs at any college yet, hopefully they'll get some good tips.
So they're absolutely in for a treat tonight. Alyssa, you're a first-year student at Oswego.
Yes.
And coming from Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell us a little bit about how you ended up coming from Long Island to Oswego, and a little bit about what you're studying and why?
Well, I found Oswego based upon because I want to be a filmmaker. I want to make movies, stuff like that. So Oswego was the perfect place for me because I came here and I saw what they had to offer about different types of majors, because here, like, the communication major is it's not so specific, it's so broad that you can do whatever you want, and that's what I really liked about it. And I had family that went here, so that was a step towards what I already knew about the place. And I picked the communication major because it's so, like I said, it's not like very specific. You can do whatever you want with it, and maybe even in the future I can just take that and I can expand it a little more for what I want to do.
Great. So we'll talk a little bit about how that fits into what you're doing now working with Tim. But Tim, I want to give you a chance to talk a little bit about how this program has evolved. And we've had student blogger program conversations on Admissions Live before, but I especially wanted to bring you on the show because of some of the new and innovative things that you're doing with your students. So we'll get to that, but can you talk a little bit about, why student blogger program was important, and why it's stuck for 5 years, and kind of the evolution of where you've come with your program?
Well, it was something that I knew some other colleges were doing a long time ago. If Rachel Rubin is out there, she obviously, I've stolen all my best ideas from her. She used to be at New Paltz and now is at Ithaca, and they did a great thing with the New Paltz bloggers. And I said, this is really cool. I looked at everything else and said, this could work. But I kept asking around other colleges how they did it, and because there's always discussion, or was discussion about, do you approve blog posts and that type of thing? But the philosophy we've come up with is you don't approve blog posts, you approve bloggers. It's like, and I'm sure the other people have brought up the whole idea that you trust students to go out and lead your admissions tours. No one's looking over their shoulders. So when you've got students talking about what's happening on campus, you want to find the right students and then kind of turn them loose. But our blogging program, it was kind of stuck. We were just doing, here's what I did this week. And then the students were getting kind of, bored. It's like, do you have any ideas what to do? Even though I sent them kind of like some thoughts and some suggestions, but they just got bored with it. And I started looking around and saying, we should be doing something else. And so one of my previous bloggers, Samantha Shelton, who now actually blogs for Fitness Magazine, she was one of the first to kind of break out and say, why don't I do something about fitness? And then at one point, since I am involved with the local roller derby team, Port City Roller Derby, as a shout out, and so one of the students blogged about roller derby, and that got a lot of hits. And that's when I started to realize, okay, the idea of a niche, of almost having a beat, was going to work a lot better. And then the one we're going to talk about a little bit later, one of my interns, Kwame Bell, doing a bucket list, that was just a concept we threw around. And that kind of gives you something to go off of. But then obviously what Alyssa does too, she's got a basic theme, I guess, more or less, to go off of. Because when you've got an idea, having it, like anything else, it's like this show. If this show was just about anything in higher ed or anything in technology, it'd be a lot harder to focus. But having when you've got a niche blog, or a niche, we promised we were going to say niche before the show started, I'm sorry. When you've got a niche blog, then you've got your framework laid out and you can just start thinking about what to do with it.
Yeah, I love that. And Tim, you know that I've been working with student bloggers too, and this idea of, what did I do this week, or what project am I working on, how was your day? It is incredibly hard to write about that. And as broad as it is, and as many of the things that students do get involved in day to day on campus, I really love that you made that point that it has to be more compelling than this is what I did. And I think from a marketing standpoint, when students are looking at different universities, that same approach can get pretty boring too. Yeah. Here's another day in the life blog. That used to be unique because no one was doing day in the life blogs, but now that everyone is doing it, how do you make something that's more compelling for the audience, and how do you make it something that they're going to want to come back and continue to either read or continue to watch video? Alyssa, can you talk a little bit about what you got involved in? You're a first-year student. How did you land on campus and get involved with this?
Well, I saw that the SUNY Oswego Twitter just started following me once I started talking about coming here and getting involved with everything that I want to do and being in my major. And then I just said, just nonchalantly said, I make videos, so if you ever need help with anything, just let me know. And it replied back saying, like, oh, we just watched one of your recent videos about college and we really like it. So
we did that after you tweeted us. We don't just stalk people.
No, I just like said that out. I just tweeted that on my own. Yeah. But just from basically just tweeting and like putting myself out there was just how I got this idea and how I just started making video blogs for the school.
Great. So did a little bit of crowdsourcing to find people that are interested in video blogs. So tell us about your blog. It's called Alyssa Explains It All, which everyone loves. Tim has shared it with quite a few folks, and we just absolutely love the name. In the first few seconds that you introduce your blog in your video, I was smiling and laughing, and it's something that's really fun, but I want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about how you got there, whether that idea just came organically or whether it's something that you really needed to think about. Tell me a little bit about the process in that.
Well, each video is supposed to convey like a way for either freshmen here or pretty much anybody who wants to apply to Oswego or any college if you just want to put it in that sort of sense. And my basic idea is just to inform people about how college works and what you should expect to get out of it, and to find like the challenges or the things that you can do there. And because college seems like a big step in people's lives, and if someone was just there to guide you, because I didn't really have people just to guide me, they just told me all the negative things pretty much. But if you just put it in a fun way, I'm sure people will get to it. And I didn't really know what the title was going to be, so I asked him and I said, what should I do? And he said, you could do Alyssa Explains It All, like the TV show. And I was like, that works. It's pretty much what it is.
Great. So how do people find your blog?
Pretty much I already have my own YouTube channel where I make vlogs about like anything really. I just whatever comes to mind, and I make other videos too. And I just told I told my family about it, and then they told a bunch of people, and then I told my close friends about it, and they told a bunch of people. So it's like one of those things like on YouTube where like something gets a big hit and then you just keep sending it to everybody, and then more people just started watching it, and I get messages all the time from alumni even when Oswego tweets it out. So it's really cool to have like a really big audience like that.
Tim, and from the web communication side of things, how are you leveraging what she's doing for the admissions office and for other different constituents that can find this valuable?
Definitely making sure we're getting it out on Facebook as much as possible. We'll be able to do a lot more. We're going to have an accepted student Facebook community, well, any minute now, seemingly. But and so that'll be a good thing for them to see, because incoming students, it just seems like are very hungry for anything other than all the drab admission material we send them with the girls under the trees and the obviously posed shots. So like Kwame, who I mentioned earlier, he actually told me that he got a lot of his information from the student blogs because it was a lot more of a slice of life. He learned a lot about what Oswego actually was, because we're a rural setting here. The city is less than 18,000 people. We're right by a lake. And so it's like, well, geez, it's a fairly different experience than a lot of people are used to. But so we want to reassure them that yes, we're not all just out here riding on tractors and tipping cows over, that things actually happen out here and on campus. But so a lot of it will be Facebook and Twitter. I think we dabble a little bit with promoting it via Pinterest. Our YouTube channel gets a lot of hits. I also embedded it in a couple places on our website. And right now, we're now, on the homepage. Alyssa's blog is on the homepage, so that's good. Just because it's really the type of thing that obviously our target market in large part is prospective students, new students in the case of Alyssa, talking to students who've just come here, giving them advice. But as she said too, it's like the alumni, the reaction from alumni and faculty and that type of thing surprised me, just because they're really impressed and they're just entertained. It's good when you've got people who are entertaining. That it's good content, it's useful content, but also I'll watch a 5-minute blog that feels like it's 25 minutes. I'll watch Alyssa's blog, it feels like a minute and a half, so it goes quickly.
That's great. And again, you're making some really first great points about the prospective students and them wanting that kind of content. We see so many students going to other sites that are peer review sites, that kind of student-to-student communication, because they're looking for a little bit more than what admissions is offering them, but they're also looking for all of the good things and all of the bad things. They don't just want to hear from us, they really want to hear the good and the bad side. So I think a lot of those peer review sites like College Confidential, College Prowler, that let students, current students, talk a little bit about their experiences was something that colleges weren't doing. And so students had to go off-site to find that content, and allowing our students to kind of have a voice, something that's a little bit more amateur, uncensored, keeps them with us, keeps them on our page, showing them that we can, show a little bit of the good and maybe some of the not so good, a little bit, some of the real experiences that students are having is important to be able to showcase. And getting the content out on the homepage, man, I know some of my students are watching. I would love to have that kind of high-level profile. And Tim, because you are working with the Oswego Web, can you talk a little bit about why it was important to put that right on the homepage?
Well, I was really looking for elements on the homepage that are going to be interesting, because obviously they want to see academics. Everybody, there's always lobbying. Oh, I want a give now button. I want an apply now button, and that type of thing. And but overall, you want content that's dynamic and that is really student focused and student led. I'm a big analytics junkie, as I'm sure you are, Ashley. And so when I look at our numbers for videos by students and for students, starring students, whatever you want to call it, those outperform everything else. Someone will always want to come along and make a really slick video and make a longer video and that type of thing, and they just don't work nearly as well. And honestly, and part of it, I'm an old school video person. I learned how to make it a specific way, and that's not the way it is anymore. I was looking at our admissions video, and every time they would go to a video montage, like the numbers would just drop off. And it's like, okay, we can't do this. It's got to be one hit. It's got to be a continuous thread. And so looking, for me, I want to put stuff on the homepage that I know is going to get a lot of hits and that's going to, that people know is dynamic, and so that they're going to come back. That's really what I want to feature, and stuff about and by our students, because like a lot of colleges, I'd like to say we're unique in this, but we really focus on hands-on or learning by doing. We've been doing this for more than 150 years, and how better to show that than to have some of our talented students expressing themselves and talking about college life. So it's really, to use a cliche, it's kind of a win-win-win situation.
It's when we all win.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about some of the other niche blogs that you've been working on, that some of the other students are working on. I want you to be able to talk a little bit about what Kwame's doing.
Yep. Kwame Bell, who he must be watching. I've seen him on Twitter a few times. Kwame has been a blogger for me for a few years, and he wanted to intern this semester to learn more about social media and PR. And when I've got an intern, I usually want them to get some sort of portfolio piece to take away. Maybe they do some videos. Maybe like one of my interns put together a Pinterest account, still manages it on a volunteer basis. And for Kwame, he's very, if you watch his stuff, he's very entertaining. He's a bit of a showman. And so when we were just throwing around some ideas, and he came up with this idea, well, what about if I do a bucket list of, I'm a senior, these are things that I should do before I leave Oswego, but he wants to crowdsource it. He asks people, and one of his videos actually involves asking a bunch of people what to do, like, oh, you should go swimming in the lake, you should do that. Some of the stuff is dangerous, which he chooses not to do. But then a lot of those suggestions were what we use. He's still getting suggestions. Well, one of the ones, for instance, that he did, which I can't wait to see, it's not done yet, he did a polar bear swim, because it was really, really, it gets really, really cold on Lake Ontario, as anyone up here knows. But it was a couple weekends ago. It was a fundraiser for Special Olympics. And so and then I also have a great videographer, Kevin Graham, who's a grad assistant. And so Kwame went swimming, and he tells me it's very entertaining, and I don't doubt that for a second. But it kind of also shows, as I said, one of the challenges we have, because obviously, we don't just do things for the sake of doing things. There should be some sort of strategy behind it. Does it fit? I always, as we talk about goals, then tools, like, okay, how does this fit something that we want to get out there? And with Oswego, like I said, people are like, well, what's there to do in Oswego? And then people ask where the nearest mall is, and then they want to hit my head against a wall. But but like Kwame is showing them there's a lot of interesting things in Oswego. He's gone He's gone apple picking. He's climbed at this place called The Wall. He's going to be doing breakfast at one of our local, diners / dives, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
He's done some stuff with women's hockey team. He's going to do something. We have a whiteout game that's a rivalry against Plattsburgh. He's going to be at. He's doing a number of the museums in town. So he's showing a lot of the local character, and he's doing it very much in a travel log type of thing, is in that he will ask people. He's got a journalism background, so he's asking people questions. He's getting them involved in the video, so it's not just him. So any given video of his is going to feature a lot of other people too, which I think makes it really cool, as opposed to just a me. It's really about a we. And so that's been a lot of fun to watch develop. I also have one that's still in its infancy. It's coming together slowly. It's called Tromp Palace, which is essentially 6 members of the women's basketball team living together. Originally it was 7, so I originally thought, I immediately thought of, the real world and when things stop getting polite and start getting real and that type of thing. But it's 6, but it's still working out okay. We're hoping to have some video and some of the stuff coming together. So they're going to talk a little bit about, student athletes is always interesting. We have 450 student athletes here, which is a pretty decent chunk of our student body. Student athletes have a higher average GPA, higher retention, so they're really involved students that we think are great, and they also have a lot to talk about. But then I've also had the occasional student athlete who blogs twice and then stops, or a lot of bloggers. I think they've faced that. They hit a wall and it's like, what do I talk about? And so, but having that is one thing. Also, I have some bloggers who are actually I managed to get a work study line, and so they have beats like arts and entertainment. One is covering more of an academic basis of lectures and interesting happenings on campus, and so they've got a little bit of time there that they're going along, and but providing different takes. I have another blogger, Hannah, who is interested in doing something a little bit like Humans of New York, like trying to interview specific people, chronicle people you wouldn't normally meet on a college campus or know about, and that's still in its infancy too. So part of, I think, with blogging is that you want to try a lot of things. It might not all work, but if you come up with 5 good ideas and 3 of them work, that's better than coming up with 1 good idea and then none of them work. So, obviously you want to throw a lot of things at the wall. You want to try, fail, hopefully not fail that spectacularly, but try some things that may or may not work, and then learn lessons and move on from it.
Yeah. So this isn't something that I've thought about until now, but I think it's important because I've had a challenge with getting students started on a series, and then it just not coming through. So you have an idea, you try it, not really your thing, or you overcommitted, or whatever it is that made that series stop. What kinds of things are you using to, or Alyssa, maybe you can chime in too, what motivates you to continue to do this? Or Tim, how are you motivating your students to see this project through?
Well, I'm just from my angle, hopefully you find students who, like Alyssa, who, first of all, have a real desire and passion for it. Because I've had students who've come highly recommended, and I try to get them in, and they, they're not feeling it. It's like, these are great, and Ashley made a, not to tell tales out of school, but she talked about, being an engineering school, not, you'll have some brilliant people. We'll have some brilliant people in the sciences, and they won't necessarily translate. And then obviously the first blog entry, hopefully, maybe they have dreams of 20 or 25 comments and they get 1, and it might be their mom. And, so trying to keep them motivated throughout that. Obviously, it helps when students, have a passion about it, school spirit, because, like I said, some of the general interest bloggers, I pay them work study money. That's not a lot of money. That means they actually have to do something to earn that money. But generally speaking, they've got to want to do it. They've got to have some sort of real interest and desire in social media and in writing and in expressing themselves. And I'll cede to Alyssa on that one then.
Well, as the person giving the videos and making them, personally, I get motivated by anything. Like, if I have an opinion about something that I do during the day or I see in the week, and I talk to my friends about it, it's a difference between talking with people that you know and people that you don't know, because the people that you don't know what they know. So they could share the same things that you're sharing, or they can even think of the opposite that you're sharing. That's why I like doing this, and I like thinking of a bunch of different ideas. And whatever, if I can't really talk that much about it, then it's not good enough. But usually I have at least 3 things to talk about one thing, and that's what backs it up. And I just like hearing other people's opinions about it, so that's why I like making them.
Yeah, and it is something that, you know, will help you prepare for your career. When you're in a communication program, being able to communicate, especially on some of these more innovative platforms, is just giving you more of that hands-on experience, as Tim said, that Oswego is providing. And Tim, again, you know, I have to give you props for giving students the opportunity to have that portfolio piece before they leave too. I think that's also another real big motivator, that, you know, if this is something that you can dedicate that much time to, that's really going to showcase your ability before you leave, whether it be journalistic or video editing or whatever those kinds of skill sets that you're trying to show off. Showing that in kind of a more professional way is something that I think students can take with them, which is really nice. I want to give the folks that are following along a chance to ask any questions. I just tweeted out that if you do have questions, you can send them our way. And while you're thinking of great questions for our guests, I want to talk a little bit more about strategies in kind of developing these kinds of programs and keeping them up and running. Tim, you do other things at your job too, right?
A couple, yeah.
Okay, just checking. So if you are speaking to someone that already has a blogger program going, but wants to do something that is a little bit more progressive, or someone that's maybe just getting started, what are the, you know, must-dos? And then Alyssa, if you can kind of give some tips for students or for managers that maybe you wish Tim was doing. What are some things that are must-dos on the student side, or what you would like to see from management too? Can you guys talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think from a managerial standpoint, or whatever you want to call it, you know, you want to find and recruit. It's like, and you probably feel probably a lot of people at colleges feel that way too. It's almost like they're putting together a team. They almost feel like they're a sports team, or putting a band together. They want people with specific skills and that can address certain things. And at one point, we were really trying to find a range of students, like students in specific majors and areas. And then it's like every time I got a communications major, because they were easy, it's like, oh, I've got to balance them off with someone in the sciences and someone in education. And then that just was driving me ragged to a degree. Because finally I decided to just go, you know, I'm going to just try to find the best content and the best students who can do it. So generally I've asked, what I used to do is just ask people for recommendations, like, do you have a student who's really involved in X? Do you have a good student athlete? Do you have a good, like an artist or a musician? Or I would have the director of our student honors production would blog and talk about some behind the scenes stuff. So really just try to find the right students, who had, you know, but the problem was I was finding students with some great backstories, but they weren't necessarily motivated. They weren't necessarily into it. I mentioned Samantha Shelton before. She was an example of someone who really, really was into it because she had a fitness blog, a background, and she was someone who said, "Look, I want to go into journalism. I know journalists. A lot of my favorite journalists also keep a blog on the side too." Or their blog almost supersedes their regular writing. So I see that as something. Catherine Raymond was another example. She might actually have been my first topical blogger, because she was at a presentation about, she was with Students for Global Change talking about environmental issues. And she was a sophomore, and as I often say, you prefer to get that student earlier in their career, because if you've got a great senior blogger, you've got them for 1 year. Hopefully Alyssa will do this for 4 years. I hope you'll graduate on time, right?
Yes. Okay.
If you want to go to grad school here too, that's great. But you know, trying to find the ones who are going to be around for a while, because especially she's going to build up a following. Like a lot of my bloggers who are around for 2-3 years, they would gain a following. They would get people interested. They get a lot more feedback. If there's one thing I'm worried about with Kwame, it's that I don't have him for that long, and so he's going to put together a really good bucket list, which is going to be great, and it's going to be timeless too. We try to keep things as timeless as possible. But so the idea is, you really getting to know the campus, kind of knowing the people who can recommend bloggers to you, or just in the case of Alyssa, just use good social media monitoring. And so when someone mentions SUNY Oswego or follows us, we follow them back, and then I use TweetDeck and see who's talking about what. And some days it's not pleasant, especially when there's snow. But ultimately you might see who's talking about what. And so obviously when they practically suddenly fall into your operation the way Alyssa does, obviously you want to jump at that. But also part of that is making sure you give them creative freedom. We talked a little bit about that too. You want to make sure that you've empowered them and said, okay, if you want to do something, run with it, like with Kwame and like with Alyssa. And because I've known, this falls into a bit of a don't, but I know people who are who have torpedoed their efforts just because of control issues. Like the person who wanted to have a student videographer, but spent the first 2 weeks of that person's internship trying to find a way that they could post video privately that could be reviewed before it was used. The student ended up walking away just because you had them for 2 weeks, they were interested, they lost their interest because essentially you're saying you don't trust them. For me, it's, find the right students, trust them to not do anything too crazy. One of my longtime bloggers would complain once in a while about the cold, and I wanted to say, you're in upstate New York, it's cold here, but at the same time, but he would have a complaint, he'd put a positive spin on it, and students are always going to complain about things like parking and, workloads, and so there might be things that they're negative about. We want to make sure they're generally upbeat, and when I have a general sheet that I try to give students with, here are some do's and don'ts and some tips. I have no idea if I gave that to you or not, but probably because Alyssa just came out and it's like, okay, fine, I'm not gonna mess with what works. But try to talk about we don't want them to be just complaining and whining, much as we all do that on a daily basis. Obviously they can't. Don't be too personal. Don't say, "Oh, I saw this person I have a crush on." Don't do that. Or obviously don't say nasty things about people, like in general. And the whole reminder that this is stuff that their parents are going to see, that their teachers are going to see, the future employers are going to see, and that type of thing. And so I've never really had a problem because most, especially the best ones, they approach it almost from a professional standpoint of hey, this is something really cool that I'm doing, and I want to excel in it. And I think that's part of it, is that they're self-motivated, they're self-starters, and they have a passion for it.
I want to make sure, we've got a ton of questions coming in. So, Alyssa, did you have any kinds of do's and don'ts that you wanted to share before we get to some of these hard-hitting Twitter questions?
Well, back to what you were saying about doing things like, you want to be who you are in front of the camera. Like, it's just as if you were having a conversation with anybody. You don't want to be too professional, because then no one will listen to you, especially with my audience, with a bunch of like teenagers. Like, no one's gonna listen to me if I just blab on about academics or things that just aren't quite interesting. Like, I'll throw in some facts in there, but I'll never say anything that wasn't my own opinion or like the way I would say it. And don't be afraid to ask for ideas from your mentors or anybody that you are hired from, or your managers, because sometimes they, even though like they are in charge, they still can help you in a way, because sometimes you just can't think of things on your own. And sometimes, again, like, you don't want to talk about too much negative, even if you're thinking about it, but you always got to put a positive spin on things.
Great.
No one will listen.
So the first question is coming in from Kara, and she works at Duke. And her question is asking about your editorial process. Do you have an editorial calendar? And she's saying that at Duke, they use Facebook groups and Google Docs as tools. Do you have any tips for how to stay organized, or are you using any kinds of tools like that to keep yourself organized?
Well, thank you, Kara. And I was at Duke once. I love the university. I think to a degree you kind of walk a line between being organized and being too organized. Obviously with my own bloggers or my own interns who like do live blogging via Twitter, they will have specific things, like they were involved in the Veterans Day open house we just had, like big events they will be involved with. If students are looking for suggestions, I might give it to them. But for my bloggers, generally, I don't give them, marching orders or assignments per se. Like if I with my my beat bloggers, they might ask, okay, what's coming up? Well, here are some things you might want to cover. Here's a lecture. I mean, one of them is a philosophy/computer science major, so he goes to these really, really cool but crazy lectures frequently. And so, but also trying to figure out what they're interested in. And once in a while, I'll make a suggestion. But especially if they're stuck for something, because it's hard for me because I still am a working journalist to a degree, in that I try to think of it from an objective standpoint, and not try to be the assignment editor, and say, oh, you must do this blog and that type of thing. Because if I give out assignments people aren't interested in, that's going to show in the effort. But I might say, well, here's a couple of threads you can consider and that type of thing, especially because we all get stuck. That's really the opportunity to do it. But no, so it's not terribly organized. I don't know if anyone's going to be terribly disappointed in me for saying that, but trying to keep it organic and keep it fun, I think, is part of what makes it successful.
Great. So the next question's coming in from Mayanne, and she's at Oberlin. And her question, well, it's two questions, but it's in the same realm. What is one thing that you can't wait to showcase on the blogs that hasn't been already, and why do you want to share it?
Well, I would definitely say that some of Kwame's stuff, especially the polar bear swim, because the water was not very warm. It was exceedingly cold, and I've seen some general video posted of these people running in, and as soon as they hit the water, there's just like these horrible faces that they make. That's going to be a lot of fun. He did some stuff with the women's hockey team last week also. Like he skated with one of the team captains, went to a game, talked to some fans. So that's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to when the Tromp Palace, the women's basketball team, starts getting some of their stuff together, because they're all a bunch of personalities. I'm a little bit scared, perhaps, of some of the stuff that's going to happen there. But I think once they get rolling along, that's going to be pretty good, too. And actually, for next semester, I've talked to a potential intern blogger who's going to do a video series on kind of like health and nutrition, but not really from a preachy standpoint, but, try to find really fun ways to talk about health and nutrition, because it's something that we value a lot, because, every college has, the nutrition and health things that are almost a bit didactic, and the scientists say, 37% of students didn't drink last week, and you're just like, well, I mean, 63% did. But how do we tackle things in an entertaining manner, and get some points across, because health, nutrition, fitness, those are all important things. And so, presuming that she's still going to come on, I think that's going to be a great series too.
Anything that you're really excited about, Alyssa, or things that you would love to share but maybe haven't quite figured out how to yet?
Well, I wanted to maybe in a few weeks, or maybe after, towards the end of the semester, maybe next semester, I'll see. I kind of wanted to do a different type of video where I'll go to one of the dining halls that's right near my dorm, and maybe get like a behind the scenes kind of thing of how they work there, because everybody just loves the dining halls here, and especially the one right near me. So I even emailed and wrote comment cards telling them that I wanted to do it. So hopefully that maybe will be a new step. But otherwise, there's other videos here and there, just normal videos.
Well, I should add, from that standpoint, it's also interesting because the person who ran auxiliary services came down to my office and said, "Is this person legit?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, she's great." So sometimes the inside-outside game, you always have to play.
Definitely. Good. So then I'm going to couple another question from Kara with one that's coming in from Laura. They're on kind of this a similar realm of any kind of guidelines that you might have. So do you have guidelines for your bloggers? Any kind of policy? You kind of mentioned a policy that Alyssa may or may not have gotten her hands on. And what Kara is asking is more specifically about Twitter. Do students also have Twitter accounts? Are they required to tweet? Are they required to tweet with prospective students? At Duke, Kara's having them blog, but tweet only if they want to. So is Twitter part of a policy, and is there a bigger social media policy that you're using with students?
Yeah, I know some people do. I know RIT does a great job with that too. we don't really make that. We kind of say, okay, here's the thing. Here's blogging. If you want to tweet as well, Kwame does, Alyssa does, some of our other students do. But if they really just want to do blogging, I don't necessarily force them to do other things. A lot of them will have Twitter accounts, especially the whole Twitter, as for our incoming students and our current students, has really just blown up in the last couple of years as far as they all have their accounts and that type of thing. So they have, generally speaking, if they've done something they're proud of, they're going to promote back out of it anyway. But for me, I don't really require that. I mean, like I said, I have, if anyone wants to hit me up, I do have like a list of do's and don'ts that I kind of stole from Rachel Rubin. So they might look familiar, especially if you're at Ithaca or New Paltz. But essentially, it was kind of, again, it's all common sense. A lot of it just comes down to common sense. And, so, if they want to promote in other ways, that's fine. I don't really force them to tweet as well. Although some, like my interns, are involved in that kind of thing, and we have an admissions person who does who's doing a lot of tweeting as well. But I've kind of kept those divorced because they're almost two different things.
Yeah, so that policy question came to me in a similar Admissions Live show with my student ambassadors, and when I posed the question to the students that were on the show, I said, do we have a policy around Twitter? Which my answer was no, we don't. They unanimously said, yes, we do. And so I was surprised that they, in the way they understood the question was, yes, there are guidelines that you should be following as a student. You are representing yourself professionally, and you're representing your institution, and you're not going to say things that you might have if you didn't have those ties to your institution or whatnot. So I applauded them for saying that, but they had kind of established those guidelines in their heads without me having to lay that out, which was really great. And I have a question that is actually coming in from one of my student ambassadors, Erin, and it's for Alyssa. Alyssa, have you ever had trouble finding information to blog about as a new student, or not knowing how to address an issue or something about the student culture? So coming in as a new student, is it challenging for you to talk about Oswego, only having a very limited view of it so far?
Not really. Like I said before, I get motivated a lot to do different things. Sometimes it might just be like, even if I wanted to make a video, just like random things, like it's not just one specific theme. Like my last video was about respect. That's just pretty general. And I was
there was singing involved too.
I do not sing anymore. But my last video was about respect, and that was just a general topic. There was nothing exactly what you should be talking about. Like I talked about how you should respect like your roommate, you should respect your dorm, you should respect your faculty, even though there's a bunch of other things that you can do. It's just like a broad topic, but I always get motivated to speak about anything, and it's just, even though I've only been here for almost a whole semester, it's just that's what the point is. Like you're coming in with like a new point of view on things.
Well, and also to back one of the things about Alyssa's blog is that you can normally boil it down to you could explain one of Alyssa's blogs in a tweet. That's how targeted they are in a way, whether it's about respect or time management. And she also talked about how it's okay to be homesick, because that's, as we all know, that's one of the huge things that hits students when they're away. It hit me when I was a student too. Just the idea that someone is out there saying it's okay to be homesick. We all are. So generally speaking, it helps me because I have to promote them on Twitter. So it's like, once I have the link and everything, it's like, okay, can I do this in less than 140 characters? And it's easy because it's almost like a headline. It's something that can be summed up very easily. That helps out a lot, as opposed to if it's really convoluted and twisted and wandering around like this part of the conversation is, then it's not easy.
Great. So I have two more questions. We're coming up close on the hour, and they're from a couple of folks that are tuning in a little bit late. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of first respond to them because it's a few things that we've already covered. And then I'm going to let you respond even more if you have more to add. And then also add any kind of closing words that you might want to give. We have a lot of people tuning in tonight and they really want to pick your brains. So I'll also let you kind of give some of your information, your Twitter handles and those kinds of things before we sign off. The questions are coming in from Lindsay and Kelsey. Lindsay runs a student blog program at her admissions office, and Kelsey is a social media and student ambassador. She runs the ambassador program from the student perspective at Marist. So Lindsay and Lindsay and Kelsey, hello. Thanks for tuning in. So Lindsay's questions about motivating and encouraging students to be engaged and excited, and we talked a little bit about that. Paying students helps, but if you can't pay students, you can motivate them by giving them professional experiences. So Tim is doing things like encouraging students to make these part of their portfolios when they leave us. And I'll let Tim talk a little bit more about that if there's other kinds of things that he might be doing to motivate students and keep them engaged and excited. And then Kelsey, hi, good to see you on Twitter. Alyssa definitely does video. So her question is, do you have students doing video blogs? Yes, they do. Mm-hmm. And if so, who's doing the editing and the filming and who's creating the content? And Alyssa is a one-woman show. So just wanted to make sure we addressed those questions. And if there's anything else that you wanted to add for Lindsay and Kelsey, give them any more.
I'll start. Keeping students motivated. Yeah, if I knew that, I would write a book and sell it. But generally speaking, for people like Alyssa, who there's obviously a passion here, and they're building a pretty big portfolio. Well, you've been video blogging for how long?
Like 3 years.
For 3 years, yeah.
Personally.
Personally, yes, not professionally.
No.
But for me, like I said, we have a couple that are covered by work-study money. It's not a lot, but it's something. Generally speaking, the students, they're getting out of it the ability to have a creative outlet and a digital footprint. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, some of the journalism students I've worked with, they realize that this is going to be part of what they're doing for a living, and they can point at this and say, look at this stuff I've done. That's the same thing has happened with some of the students as we've had in the science. They genuinely like to share these things with them. So hopefully you find people who have motivation and something resembling time management skills. Alyssa's got a great time management blog that helps, but really it's finding the right student, the student who wants to motivate them, because if you find one who really isn't into it, all the motivation, all the work-study money in the world isn't going to really get a lot going. And then as far as video goes, Kwame's is actually being edited by our graduate assistant, but Alyssa's doing her own editing. About how many hours do you put into these blogs?
Filming, not that much, but I do edit a lot out. Like sometimes my video will be maybe like 10 minutes, and I know that's not good, and I just ramble for half the time. But I take out a lot, and it could take, first just editing, like cutting out stuff, that can take at least like a half an hour to 45 minutes, and then adding in like the text that I put up all over the place, and the music, and the intros, and the outros, those are all also edited in like another 45 minutes. So like, I guess like 2.5 hours total if I don't take a break.
Well, and obviously there could be a difference if someone's just doing a straight-up video blog that is, just talking about something. But Alyssa obviously puts a lot of extra work into it, and you can tell. Yeah,
you don't even, I always say, like, you don't even need a editing software or a professional camera to do a video blog. You can just sit there on your webcam and just talk. Even though that might not sound or look professional, it's okay, whatever you get your point across, that's fine.
Yeah, and it's more authentic that way. So they know that it's not someone in a marketing department that's telling you what to say and how to stand and how to look, that it's you really doing the work. I think that's fantastic, and I know that students can see right through that marketing material when it's out there. So you're doing the right thing, doing it yourself that way. Never hurts to have a little bit of help, but you've proven that you can be a one-woman show.
Yes.
And get things together. So we do still have lots of viewers tuning in. I'm sure that they're going to want to connect with you after we leave. So I'm going to let you share ways that you might be able to connect with them. Tim, do you want to give your Twitter handle out to folks? Any other ways that you might want to connect?
Yeah, it's just at Tim Nekritz, Nekritz, hard to spell. On Twitter, also, they can, like, if they want to see the blogging that I do, because I blog a lot about social media and web and that type of thing, it's Inside Tim's Head, all one smashed up thing, .wordpress.com. I do a lot of stuff there. Our YouTube channel actually is youtube.com/SUNY Oswego video, because someone squatted on SUNY Oswego and has never actually used it. But also, if they go to oswego.edu, our regular website, they'll see some of the student blogs and some of the stuff that's happening. And like I said, the whole point, for us as a college, when students are doing creative things and talking, well, they're going to, someone's going to listen, an incoming student, a new student's going to listen to Alyssa or listen to Kwame a lot more than they're going to listen to an old fogey like me. But also B, it gives them, hopefully, I haven't had it yet, but I hope that at some point I get a student who comes because they say, I chose Oswego because I want to be a blogger or make videos or that type of thing. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's just one more tool that we can provide students to both express themselves creatively and for a portfolio after they graduate.
Awesome. And how can we get in touch with you, Alyssa?
You can check out my Twitter, which is at listless15, LYSS, same thing, 15, or you can just find me on Facebook, on my personal Facebook, which is Alyssa Levenberg. Just find me, I'm the only one in the world. Or if you want to check out more of my own personal vlogs and music videos, films that I've done, short films that I've done in high school, you can check me out at youtube.com/IamDaddy'sLittleGirl14. Don't make fun of the name. But if you just want to check out more there, you can message me on there. I've gotten a few messages from people who are applying, who just found my personal YouTube and talked to me on there. But I'm pretty much always on the internet, so you'll get a response fast.
Great. Well, thanks guys so much. We're going to sign off here, and all of that information that they just gave out, we're going to put in the archive of this show. So if you are watching us in the archive on YouTube, you should head over to higheredlive.com and find all of the links that we shared on that site. I will be back with you this and every Tuesday evening on Higher Ed Live, where you can find out all sorts of information about the world of admissions on Admissions Live and our other shows, Student Affairs Live and Higher Ed Live, each week. We will see you there.